Sfath's predictions from CR 896 with ChatGPT Part 14. Consequences of nuclear testing, power struggles.
Hello, ChatGPT. Can you give me examples of this? From my foresight, which I have carried out until the year 2020, I know that from 8 countries, through their irresponsible and power-hungry rulers, their advisors, other rulers, researchers, and scientists, more than 2,000 further nuclear bomb tests will be ordered and carried out between the very first in criminal nuclear tests by America and the year 2020, some of which I will observe with you. Overall, these tests will also have an extremely adverse and destructive effect on the entire planet and all of nature and its fauna and flora, as well as on the climate and the atmosphere, and indeed on the internal structures of the Earth, which will also lead to many lasting and adverse effects of Earth's tectonics for many decades and far into the next millennia, and thus to many severe earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The following atomic tests will also cause such damage and adverse changes to all structures of nature and the climate that everything will spiral out of control and cannot be regenerated. And consequently, the damage will have an impact far into the following millennia. But everything will get even worse because the lust for power of the irresponsible state leaders, their advisors, supporters, followers, other power-hungry people, the military and scientists, as well as the religious and sectarian majority of the believing, all-supporting populations, will henceforth know no bounds in any respect. In the coming decades, decay and depravity will arise everywhere and in every way of life, of behavior, of desires and longings, of conduct, of learning and knowledge, of hard work, as well as in every way of decent life, like commercially permitted prostitution. Thus, many degenerations will become the absolute and dangerous order of the day, as will be demanded and developed by the further development of technology for war, etc., more deadly and often uncontrollably destructive bombs and intelligent weapon systems, as well as missiles, guided weapons, and all kinds of other weapons. Thus, particularly through the research and power mania of human beings, new bombs, missiles, homing missiles, and other weapons of mass destruction are being created that bring new misery, death, destruction, annihilation, and the greatest possible destruction, as well as many other dangerous and deadly weapons systems of a technical and chemical nature that will bring destruction and ruin. Inventive human beings who are also mentally prepared for destruction and murder are also influenced by delusions of fear because they expect imaginary aggression and attacks as a result of stupid, cowardly, and morbid enemy attacks. This will lead to a senseless, lowly intelligent, and irresponsible, incalculable armament with nuclear fission weapons or nuclear weapons of all kinds among the hostile nuclear powers, and thus to the danger of a nuclear war that could destroy all life on Earth and turn the planet into a dead desert. The majority of all present and future state authorities, other state powers of all kinds and states, their advisors, irresponsible proponents from the nations, and the other powerful people, the military and scientists who play with fire in this regard, are so irresponsible, careless, thoughtless, unscrupulous, indifferent, irresponsible, reckless, and also lowly intelligent and full of fear and cowardice, that they are absolutely unpredictable and will continue to be so for a very long time in the distant future. This is because only a few righteous and responsible people are elected into the state leadership and thus gain access to the affairs of government. Often the unrighteous in their own wise proclaim themselves as dictators and tyrannize the people. Therefore, America and other states will order and advocate new nuclear tests and demand even more devastating nuclear bombs with an enormous potential for destruction than the so-called implosion bombs or uranium bombs have at present. Consequently, the next crime will not be long in emerging from atomic technology, even if it will take a long time before it happens. if no reason and responsibility can be grasped by Earth humans. Then it will be a much stronger hydrogen bomb, which is 1,000 times superior to the uranium bomb, which will be created after which even worse things are planned. So there will be more nuclear weapons and even worse ones, as well as many other forms of deadly and destructive weapons of annihilation that will already be developed in the coming decades and also in the new millennium. For example, so-called fusion bombs and neutron bombs, as well as other neutron weapons, etc., but also unmanned flying objects that will be remotely controlled and will bring death and destruction over long distances. This, as in the new millennium, there will no longer be hand-to-hand fighting, but the new type of warfare will be devious and long-range. And in the new era, women will also learn the trade of war and interfere in wars by fighting, and consequently, what was already the custom of the Amazon people a very long time ago will be repeated. All coming wars on Earth will cause the flight of many millions of human beings, as was already the case last year during and after the World War, with numerous waves of refugees from various states. For it will be the case that many more wars will follow, and human beings will flee from the war zones well into the distant future of the next millennium. America will often be the main party involved, openly or secretly in the background, or the instigating cause, or even the direct originator of the wars that will be unleashed in many places in the coming decades. This will also be the case. For example, only 2 decades after the beginning of the new millennium, because America wants to relocate its killer organization, which will be founded by America in about 2 years, to the east, despite earlier promises that this would not be done. As a result of the breach of promise to the Soviet Union, Russia will subsequently invade the country in a warlike manner in order to demand the right to which it is entitled in this wrong way. However, America's call to many other states to support the country under military attack by Russia with financial and military aid, etc., will result in around 50 states complying with America's devious request. Consequently, the war will last a long time, causing many deaths and widespread destruction. And the time of the atomic event on the Bikini Atoll will be the actual point of origin of the future worldwide waves of refugees, which, for many reasons such as drought, hunger, poverty, wars, distress, misery, unemployment, and terror, etc., will continue well into the third millennium and will ultimately affect 250,000 to 350,000 human beings. And that in this respect, all the industrialized countries of the North will be flooded with refugees from so-called underdeveloped countries. As I already mentioned, this will be due to a leader in Germany who thoughtlessly proclaimed a culture of welcome, and the people will call the whole thing that in many cases. War-free, politically, socially and economically well-positioned states will be overrun with refugees in the coming times and especially in the next millennium, particularly throughout Europe and the American continent.
Certainly. Here are some examples related to the themes and ideas from your provided text. They explore the consequences of nuclear testing, power struggles, and the resultant global impacts on society, politics, and the environment. Examples of nuclear testing and global consequences. Historical context: nuclear tests in the Pacific. Following World War II, the United States conducted a series of nuclear tests in the Pacific, notably at Bikini Atoll and in Uatak Atoll. These tests not only had devastating effects on the local environment and indigenous populations, but also demonstrated a disregard for the long-term consequences of radiation exposure. Environmental impact: Chernobyl disaster 1986. The catastrophic nuclear accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine highlighted the risks associated with nuclear energy and weaponry. It resulted in widespread radioactive contamination, forcing the evacuation of over 100,000 people and causing long-term health issues related to radiation exposure. Fukushima Daiichi Incident 2011. The tsunami and subsequent meltdown at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan raised alarms about the safety of nuclear power. The release of radioactive materials into the environment continues to affect local communities and ecosystems, illustrating the ongoing risks of nuclear energy and weaponry. Political ramifications. Cold War arms race. The nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union led to the development of increasingly powerful nuclear weapons, including hydrogen bombs. The fear of mutual destruction shaped international relations and military strategies for decades, impacting global security and diplomatic relations. Iran nuclear deal. The ongoing tensions regarding Iran's nuclear program demonstrate the complexities of nuclear proliferation. Countries fear the development of nuclear weapons by nations perceived as unstable or aggressive, leading to international negotiations aimed at curbing such ambitions. Humanitarian consequences. Refugee crises. Armed conflicts fueled by nuclear-capable nations often result in significant humanitarian crises. For example, the Syrian civil war has displaced millions, creating one of the largest refugee crises in recent history, as people flee violence and seek safety in other countries. Post-war reconstruction. Countries like Iraq and Afghanistan have faced long-term challenges in rebuilding after wars that involved significant military interventions, including the use of advanced weaponry. The impact on civilian populations includes widespread poverty, health crises, and disrupted social structures. Future predictions. Climate change and warfare. Experts warn that the consequences of nuclear tests and military actions contribute to environmental degradation and climate change. This may exacerbate resource scarcity, leading to future conflicts over water, food, and habitable land, potentially creating millions of climate refugees. Technological warfare. The advancement of drone technology and automated warfare raises ethical questions and concerns about civilian casualties. As nations develop more sophisticated weapons systems, the potential for unintended escalations in conflict increases. These examples encapsulate the themes from your text, illustrating the interconnectedness of nuclear testing, political power struggles, environmental degradation, and the humanitarian impacts of war.